Und damit herzlich willkommen zurück zum nächsten Part. Mal hier stehen geblieben. Dich muss ich hacken, Kollege. Dich, genau dich muss ich hacken. So. Dann hier runter und dann da rauf. So, das. Und dann das hier. Gleiches Spielchen hier. Ein gerades noch, komm. So. Hier gehört dann auch mir. Code habe ich nicht. Gehe ich mal hier hin.
So leicht durchschaubar hältst du mich also.
Was ist los?
Was für ein bescheuerter Traum. Irgend so ein Obstbaum hat sich gedreht wie der Deckel auf einer Flasche und Saft in Ryans Kehle geschüttet und das Schwein erstickt. Aber als ich näher hinsah, war es gar kein Baum. Es war die Kernsteuerung, dieses Dings da, das die Magnetschlösser an Ryans Tor speist. Das Grundgehäuse ist fertig. Ich habe eine Ladung Nitroglycerin in meinem Büro. Die verwenden wir als Initialzünder. Jetzt brauche ich 4 abgeschirmte R34.
Goldener Filmrolle.
From the moment you boot up BioShock, you can feel the story grab hold of you. A plane crashes at sea. A mysterious
30 Kabelbrücken, um den Schaltkreis zu umgehen. Dann eine halbe Dose Ionengel. Das gibt der Mischung erst richtig Zunder. Das müsste den Kern in den Nachbrennermodus versetzen, so zu einer Überspannung führen und den Überlastschalter an Ryans Tor auslösen. Soweit die Theorie. Entweder es klappt wie am Schnürchen oder halb Rapture fliegt dabei in die Luft. Naja, wer nicht wagt.
Okay, ganz kurz. Ich will mir das angucken.
From the moment you boot up BioShock, you can feel the story grab hold of you. A plane crashes at sea. A mysterious lighthouse. A sprawling city beneath the ocean. Hooking the player from the first touch without overwhelming him with convoluted RPG mechanics was key to the success of the game and the skillful ramping up of BioShock's legendary gameplay.
Okay.
BioShock has an amazing opening
Geil.
sequence that I can't imagine the game without it, with you know, the plane and sort of the crash. But I understand that didn't come online until like the very end of development. Sean, is that true?
We had a couple of really depressing playtests. We had built all these systems. We thought we were doing a good job of like giving basically people a playground to play with and things to do. And when we had a playtest, we didn't realize how bad of a job we were doing in exposing those systems to the player, because we were so in these systems and in our own heads, we had no idea that we just weren't facing them towards the player at all. So after that playtest, we took a long, cold look at what we were doing and realized that we had to introduce we were confident enough in the systems that they were going to be fun and meaningful to the player, but we really had to think about how we were going to introduce these systems to the player, and in such a way that they understand why the systems were there. Like, you can't ship a README file with the game and expect people to read it. Like, it has to be part of the experience. So the challenge is, how do you introduce people to these systems, but do it in such a way that it fits within the narrative? So we had to integrate all of these things into the story cleanly so that the player felt like it was one smooth experience. And I think the zap 'em and whack 'em thing was one of those.
And the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch that came out of that.
The plane sequence at the beginning, I heard a story that like a programmer put that together in like a day or two, and it was a very last minute thing, right?
It was, so we had done a focus test, and we had it was one of the most depressing experiences of my life, because we were very close to being finished, and it was basically giving people what essentially became the demo, and people played it, and it was in Boston, and we were sort of behind these glass windows, all these sort of Boston guys are like, this is a wicked piece of shit. You know, they hated it, and they were making fun of it, and they were saying, it's like watching some guys and dolls getting, beating each other up, and it's the stupidest thing they've ever seen. And we thought we were in pretty good shape at that point. And I remember the focus test guy was like sort of like a doctor giving me the bad news. You know, sorry, Ken, you better get your affairs in order. Right. And we all came into work the next day, and we were like, what are we going to do? And we were all pretty depressed. But I think we started talking. And as we talked, we started thinking about, what are they saying to us? What are these people saying to us? We think there's something there. How are they missing it? And we decided that maybe they didn't understand who they were and who their role as a character, who their role in the world was, because the game at that point started with you in the ocean, floating in the ocean after the plane crash. And
the crash still was in the fiction, it just wouldn't show.
You just didn't see it, so you didn't have the voiceover saying, my parents always said I was going to do great things or whatever that. They didn't show the plane crash. We didn't establish a time period. Because the plane is critical to establishing. You're smoking a cigarette. It's very 1960s looking. All that stuff was established. It wasn't established. So we decided we had no time and no money and so we sort of came up with a script. I wrote some lines, a line, I think. Nate, one of our artists, recorded the line. Steven and Sean and those guys got to work on building this very simple sequence, which was relatively simple sequence. And then the plane crash actually happens over the BioShock logo we already had, but we wrote a radio play behind that with altitude of the crash, and that I think set the emotional, and the people screaming in terror on the plane crash, that set the emotional tenor much better and explained who the player was. And all of a sudden we released, then I think the next real encounter we had was people playing the demo, public encounter, and all of a sudden it was a very different experience.
No, I remember even back in the day, I think we did a thing on TV where you kind of talked about it, and it was like that night, and I remember that night, like people on the forums were just like going nuts. And even though the game had a lot of press attention, when people finally got to play it and go through that sequence, I just remember there was this mass sort of excitement around it, and then the game shipped only a few weeks after that, right, or a month after that?
A week later, or a few days later.
It's amazing, like now, to hear that, like, literally like a month before the game came out, like the plane sequence came online or something. I mean, it was that late. Right?
Well, we still had to go through certification and all that.
Yeah, so it's like within.
It wasn't far. It wasn't far. It was really last minute, and it was one of those things where like you really shouldn't be putting in content that late. But we felt it. We were so close to having something.
Okay, ich lasse jetzt noch 2 Minuten abspielen und wenn es nicht fertig ist, dann skippe ich das alles.
We worked really hard.
Wir hören einfach weiter zu. Es stört eigentlich nicht.
I can still hear the different version of that in my head, because we spent so much time on that stuff, and these guys were working on getting the animations right, and the
scene was shot in Engine, but we decided to pre-render it so that we had to do less QA on it.
Right.
It wasn't going to be some like weird streaming error or crash error. Wow. It was just like we're just going to show the video. Yeah.
And it's interesting because once you start in the ocean, we had this experience of testing a lot with the water effects and how beautiful Steven's water effects were. People didn't realize they were out of a cutscene at that point. And so they would just sit there and stare, and then they pick up the controller. And they pick up a controller, and all of a sudden they realize they were controlling things. But that, as Sean said, that part of the plane is not actually interactive. It was done in the engine, but we just filmed it.
Now, as people were playing through the game and you were testing it, I'm sure there was debate about, when would you introduce these plasmids, what would the ramp be? Did that change at all, sort of as you got towards the end of development, about like, we're going to give people the gun at this point, or it's like we're going to trigger these plasmids at this point? Like, how did that work?
So, like, we moved guns around. Like, for instance, there was a big debate about originally you found a gun in the lighthouse, a pistol in the lighthouse.
Oh,
at the very
right
beginning.
there, yeah.
And because it's a shooter, right? Like, what the hell? And we had a lot of debates about it. And
Okay, ich mach das so. Was? So. Ich werde es so machen. Ich werde dieses Video abspielen, aber erst, nachdem wir das Spiel hier durchgespielt haben. Heißt so ein kleiner Extra-Part. Halt die Schnauze, Mann. Ach, ich soll das Teil jetzt schon reinfügen, oder was? Dann mache ich das mal kurz schnell. Funktioniert nicht mal. Okay, auf jeden Fall gibt es eine Audiorolle vor den Entwicklern selber. Was ziemlich interessant eigentlich sogar ist. Ich denke, für die meisten wäre das ziemlich interessant. Scheiße. Ja. Wir haben's. Scheiße.
Of all the boys I've known and I've known some, until I found that you I was lonesome. And when you came inside, dear, my heart grew light, and this whole world seemed new to me. You're really swell, I have to admit you deserve expressions that really fit you. And so I racked my brain hoping to explain all the things that you do to me. For me, if it's
So, weg mit dem.
let me explain. Love me means your rain. For me, a bit to shame. Again, I'll explain.
Schlagen kann ich euch nicht.
Your there is in the land.
Scheiße.
Could take
Fließt Blut auf den Straßen? Gewiss. Haben einige beschlossen, sich durch unvorsichtiges Splicen selbst zu vernichten? Zweifellos. Aber ich werde keine Verordnung herausgeben, ich werde kein Gesetz erlassen. Die große Macht, die große Kette der Schöpfung bewegt sich langsam, aber dafür weise und umsichtig. Unsere Ungeduld öffnet dem Parasiten Tür und Tor. Und wenn man ihn erstmal hereingelassen hat, wird er nicht mehr aufhören, die Stadt von innen aufzufressen.
Ihr wollt mich doch alle verarschen. Wie viel Geld habe ich? Ich habe $92. Das reicht für ein paar Verbandskästen. So. Ich soll jetzt also Teile suchen für diese Bombe. Oder was auch immer das sein soll.
Selbst im tiefsten Meer.
Ich will also diese blauen Dinger hier sammeln. Davon waren ja sogar welche.
Sei verflucht! Ah!
Ich muss nur gucken, wo. Hier war dann, glaube ich, eins. Ja,
Sogar bis in die Finsternis hier unten. Was?
steht mein Missionsziel? Kommentar, ne? Nein. Gibt das Lohn gegen die MP und dann tue ich das mal rein.
Ich tu, was du sagst. Ich flieh nur!
Ey Mann, ich hab dir nichts getan, bleib weg.
Ryans Fleißer schaffen gerade die junge Frau weg. Sicher ist sie eine von Ryans Spionen, hergeschickt, um mich auszuhorchen. Ich glaube es jedenfalls. Falls ich mich täusche, endet ein unschuldiges Mädchen an Ryans blutiger Trophäenwand. Falls ich recht habe, naja, ich hoffe mal, ich habe recht. Das Gerät ist so gut wie fertig. Ich kann mir jetzt keine Gefühlsduseleien leisten. Bloß das nicht.
Ich habe herausgefunden, was die Röhren blockiert hat. Und du errätst nie, wo ich gelandet bin. Auf dem verdammten Farmers Market am anderen Ende von Rapture. Ich habe alles repariert und neue Dichtungen installiert. War eine ganz schöne Sauerei. Naja, egal. Der Code ist 0512. Für den Fall, dass du da mal rein musst, um was zu reparieren.
0512. War das zufällig der Code, den ich hier gebraucht habe? Wenn ja, dann nee. Oh, wir müssen jetzt nach Teilen suchen für die Bombe, für die MP-Bombe, die zufälligerweise da ist.
Ist euch eigentlich klar, dass wir uns im Krieg befinden? Wenn ihr die Wartung der Big Daddies nicht ordentlich macht, verbrauchen sie die R-34er, so wie die Nutten im Eves Apple Penicillin fressen. Ablassschläger greifen uns pausenlos an. Diese Woche sind schon 2 Mechaniker draufgegangen. Wir müssen die Verluste so gering wie möglich halten. Wenn ich mit Amateuren hätte arbeiten wollen, wäre ich an Land geblieben.
So, hacken wir mal kurz die Drohne. Da haben wir jetzt ein bisschen Begleitschutz dabei. Im Fall der Fälle. Blutdurst. Die Hecke schnell. So. Kommst dahin und dann brauche ich noch dich hier. Ich hab hier auch. Okay, das schaffen wir sogar. So. Wir beide nämlich uns. Dann nehme ich, gucke ich noch schnell hier um. Kann ich doch irgendwas machen? Naja, wenigstens gehört ihr jetzt uns. Oder geht doch geht nicht aus dem Weg. So. Ich habe nur 10. Wo ging's hier nochmal lang? Ach, hier hin. Okay. Ich muss mich also genau umgucken. Scheiße. Das läuft ja toll. Das gibt's nicht. Ey. Ihr wollt mich verarschen, ihr wollt mich doch alle verarschen. Ich hab jetzt hier. Das ist doch ein Scheißdreck hier. Ich bin tot, ich bin verdammt nochmal tot. Mach die scheiß Tür auf, Mann.
Leben geht nicht.
Wo soll ich denn diese verdammte Nitroglycerin oder wie die Scheiße heißt herbekommen? Ich gehe jetzt nochmal ganz kurz nach komplett Schulter durchschießen, du dummer Idiot. Ich würde sagen, wir sehen uns im nächsten Part und bis dahin. Ciao.